Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome from wherever you're joining today. My name is Susan, and I'm joined by Dexibit founder Angie Judge. Welcome, Angie.
Thanks, Susan.
Today we'll be taking you through our new embedding feature. But to begin with, I'll take you through a quick introduction to Dexibit for anyone that might be new here. So if you're new to Dexibit, we do data analytics specifically for visitor attractions, and this is for both cultural and commercial organizations. Our mission is to democratize data, and we do that by bringing together all sorts of data from around the visitor's experience in your venue's operations. So things like footfall, ticketing, CRM, point of sale, e-commerce, social web, weather, and so much more. I'll go ahead and share my screen to show you what that looks like in the product. So this is Dexibit. It is software as a service. You can invite as many users as you'd like, and you can build as many dashboards, reports, insights, and forecasts as you'd like, which you can also turn into scheduled email reports at a click of a button. And in Dexibit, we have an extensive library of visualizations. So to add one to your dashboard, you can simply search for the topic you're looking for and click Add to add it in. And this is an example dashboard. So you can see lots of different data coming together in these visualizations to get everything from very high level data right down through to the very detailed data. And now you have the option to embed any of these visualizations or even the whole dashboard in any application that supports embedding. So I'll hand it over to Angie now to take us through exactly what that looks like.
Thanks, Susan. Hi, everybody. Embedding is a really useful thing for quite a few reasons. First of all, just to touch on what embedding is, usually when you use Dexibit, you're logging in, as Susan just showed us, into the software using your browser, or maybe you're receiving a PDF scheduled email report. Embedding allows you to take data from Dexibit or visualizations or entire dashboards and pull them into another application. So that might be something like your intranet site that you've built out with SharePoint, or it might be another application like your ticketing software. It might even be something you've built custom for your team, like something that you display on your screens around your attraction campus, or something similar to that. And why that is useful is a couple of different reasons. The first is that you're sort of meeting your users where they are in their workflow that they're currently in, whether that's walking past the staff room and seeing something on the TV, or they're selling a ticket in the ticketing system, or they're already just landing on your SharePoint site as part of their day-to-day. And that's particularly great for data because otherwise data has to become a habit, which for some people is not necessarily an automatic one. So sort of by seeing people where they are with data, we can increase the likelihood that they're going to make more data informed decisions and just get more value and use out of that data. The second is that the user is then in their flow of whatever they're doing. So say, for example, they're in your SharePoint site and it's just part of their usual daily flow. They're not having to go and log into another application. So we're just simplifying their day and again, meeting them where they are. And the third thing of how this is really useful is that it simplifies our user management. In Dexibit, we've got lots of facilities for how you manage your users in terms of what permissions you give them or what privileges or how you group them together. But you're still doing some user management, and you can resolve some of that by doing SSO, so using a sign-in service like Microsoft, for example, and doing that as an add-on with Dexibit that can resolve some of these sort of user management things of provisioning new users, or most importantly, deactivating people when they leave your organization. But you're still sort of managing that overhead. One of the things that embedding can do is to mean that you have a smaller user base in Dexibit, but you have a broader audience base of stakeholders around your organization because they don't necessarily need a user account to be looking at data in an embedded place. So I'm going to take you through how to set up for embedding in Dexibit. So the first thing that we're going to do here is to look at embedding off an individual visualization. So I might take, for example, my visitor complaints here. What I'm going to do is click the share button up the top, in the top right of the application. And typically we would be looking at sharing this visualization maybe via a link. If this was a dashboard and we were looking at this, we might be seeing to share the dashboard as in to publish it out to select users, a group, or all users. But we're going to choose here the embed option. Now, all embedding is turned off by default. So if you want to be able to look at a visualization in another application, we first need to activate the embedding. And the reason for this is a security one, like embedding needs to be a conscious choice. And when it comes to that security, by default, once you turn on embedding, you can then use this code to embed this visualization, in this case, anywhere that you like on the internet. So you might want to restrict the access to this down to particular domains. So for example, for me, I'm going to use Confluence, an Atlassian product that we use for documentation and knowledge management here. So I'm going to pop that domain into this restricted access list. Now I can list multiple domains here, and this is where you might put, say, for example, the web address or URL of your SharePoint site. And then we can choose whether we want to show the header, so the title of the visualization, and whether we want to choose to show the footer, so some controls where the user will be able to see the data and the filters behind the visualization. We can also choose the width and the height of how the visualization will display. And of course, when you're embedding this, you've got some formatting options available to you in your application of choice, usually, if you're sort of laying up a screen there. And then lastly, here we have the embed code, which uses the iframe method. And you can see all of those details that I've chosen here are now part of that embed code. So I'm going to copy that. Now I'll just repeat this for my entire dashboard. I'm going to click the share button. And again, you can see here, I've got my options for sharing to one select users or everyone, but I'm going to choose that embed tab again. Toggle on to embed this dashboard within another application. Again, I might want to control my trusted domains, my width and my height. And again, I've got this code here that I'm going to use. So now we'll flip over to an application of choice to show you what this looks like on the other side. I presume you can see this, right, Susan? So we've now left Dexibit and we're in Confluence. So this is an Atlassian product which is designed for knowledge management and documentation. This is what we use at Dexibit for a lot of our product ideas, product management, project management, that sort of thing. And here you can see I've got a document. I can come in and edit this document. And I've got my visualizations that I have embedded in here. Now, how your application, your target application of choice, accepts embedding elements will differ depending on which application we're talking about. So for example, if I was working within SharePoint, then this would look different. If I was looking at WordPress, then this would look different. But in Confluence, what I do to create an embedded object is I come in here and I add an object, and I'm searching for iframe, and I'll add that object in. And then I've got some options within my iframe. Let's have a look at those here so you can see those to add in that iframe code. Now in Confluence, it's a bit finicky, so I actually have to break that code up. But this is largely going to be copy and paste if you're working in something like a SharePoint or a WordPress or whatever the case might be. So here, for example, you can see my first option where I was embedding my entire visualization. I've got my header and I've got my footer down here, just to show you what these things do with the header. This is giving me the visualization title. And I've also got the chips in here for the date range of the calendar and to show that some filters have been applied. This is really important for me to know as a user that there are filters applied. And on the footer, I've got this option to look at data in the table format. And I've got some tabbing available to me here. This is maybe something that we want to toggle on or off. We might not want our users to be able to do this. So this is one of the reasons why when we're looking at that embed tab, we can choose not to have this footer on there. And then the other thing that I've got here is some information, and this is where I can look at the primary filter settings that my data is queried by, so how it's dimensioned, and any sort of limits that are being applied and things like this. Again, this might not be detail that you want to show with your users, but sometimes it's really important context for them. So you can choose whether to toggle on these header and footer options. And of course, within your application, so in this case, Confluence or SharePoint or whatever you're working with, you can then choose how you like style up your page, and you might put some of those visualizations side by side and change fonts and colors and text and context around them, depending on what you want to do. As the data updates in Dexibit, the data will update in your target application. The only exception being that if your target application doesn't automatically refresh, you might need to refresh a page if you're, say, displaying it constantly, and each day you want to come in and look at new information, and your application doesn't normally refresh by itself. So that's something you can control in that target application. And then here I've got an example of a full dashboard at play. So I've used a full width here in Confluence to make that happen. So I've got the option again to be able to embed my individual visualization, my data as a table, or my full dashboard like this, which is kind of fun. So that's the world's quickest guide on embedding. It's a great thing for bringing data and meeting users where they are, as well as that benefit for restricting access for security control and making that user management more simplified. Get out there and play around with it, enjoy it, let us know what your feedback is. We're looking forward to seeing how everybody uses these.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Angie. And thanks everyone who joined today. Look forward to seeing you next month.